Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel where we explore the hidden treasures that might be sitting right in your pocket change. First up, the 1943 Abraham Lincoln steel penny with the D mint mark. A fascinating piece from one of the most unique years in U.S. coinage history. This coin was struck at the Denver Mint during World War II, when copper was needed for military equipment, leading the U.S. Mint to produce pennies using zinc-coated steel instead. This change makes 1943 pennies stand out immediately from any other year. And the steel composition gives them a bright, silvery appearance when new. The example here is in dirty condition, showing clear signs of age, handling, and exposure to the elements. The surface has accumulated dirt, discoloration, and small scratches. But the coin still retains its identity and majority of its design details. Collectors often find these circulated steel cents interesting because each one carries the story of wartime America. On the obverse of this coin, Abraham Lincoln's portrait remains visible, though the dirt and wear soften many of the finer details. The high points of his hair and cheek show noticeable flattening from circulation, and scratches are present across different parts of the metal surface. The date 1943 stands clearly beneath Lincoln's profile, and the D mint mark next to it confirms it was struck in Denver. The motto "In God We Trust" across the top is still readable, though some letters may look slightly obscured by dirt or darkened areas. The word "Liberty" on the left side is present, but shows the natural effects of wear. The steel core, combined with the thin zinc coating, is known to pick up dirt more easily than copper coins. And this coin reflects exactly that kind of aging. Turning to the reverse, the famous wheat-ear design appears with softened edges, though the overall structure remains intact. The words 1 cent and United States of America are bold enough to read clearly even through the dirt and scratches covering parts of the surface. The wheat stalks show moderate wear, with many of the inner lines faded or softened, but the outer curves still form the familiar wheat-back shape. At the top, the motto "E pluribus unum" is visible, though some letters may be faint or partially darkened due to grime. The steel composition again contributes to the coin's aged appearance, as steel cents often develop dark spots, streaks, or uneven coloration over time, especially when stored in humid or harsh environments. The 1943D steel penny represents an important chapter in U.S. history. At the height of World War II, copper was essential for ammunition, communication equipment, and other wartime needs. To support the effort, the Mint temporarily replaced copper cents with steel ones coated in zinc to prevent rust. Millions were produced, and although they served their purpose well, the steel pennies proved prone to corrosion and discoloration. Many that survived, including this one, show the effects of exposure, handling, and time. Collectors value steel cents not for rarity, but for the historical story they represent, and the unique appearance that sets them apart from traditional Lincoln cents. In today's market, a 1943D steel penny in dirty condition with scratches typically carries a modest value. These coins are common in circulated grades, and their price usually ranges from around 10 cents to 50 cents, depending on the exact level of dirt, wear, and overall appeal. Collectors often clean these coins improperly, which can damage them further. So coins left in natural dirty condition like this one are sometimes preferred over heavily cleaned examples. While it may not be a high-grade or high-value coin, it remains an interesting and meaningful piece of wartime coinage. The next coin in this collection is the 1918 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny without any mint mark, a historic piece struck at the Philadelphia Mint during a period of global upheaval and domestic change. Coming at the end of World War I, the year 1918 was marked by both triumphs and challenges for the United States, and a coin like this provides a small yet tangible link to that era. This particular penny is in good condition, which means it has seen circulation over the decades, but still retains enough detail to be appreciated by collectors. Despite showing some scratches, the coin maintains its identity, and its age adds to its charm and historical significance. Looking closely at the obverse, Abraham Lincoln's portrait remains clearly recognizable. In good condition, the high points of his hair, cheek, and jawline show moderate wear, yet the essential features of his face are intact. The date 1918 is fully readable beneath Lincoln's profile, standing as a reminder of the coin's century-long journey. The motto "In God We Trust" arches across the top and remains clear, while the word "Liberty" on the left side is fully visible, though slightly worn along the edges. The scratches scattered across the obverse surface reflect decades of handling, giving the coin character and a sense of authenticity that many collectors appreciate. The 1918 wheat penny occupies an important place in American numismatic history. While not considered rare, its age makes it desirable for collectors, especially those looking to complete a full set of early Lincoln cents. Coins from the 1910s often show moderate to heavy wear because they have passed through generations of users. The good condition of this example makes it an attractive piece, balancing the wear from circulation with enough detail to showcase the design. Collectors often value coins like this for both their historical context and their role in building a complete collection. In today's market, a 1918 Lincoln wheat penny without a mint mark in good condition typically carries a modest value. Because many examples survive, the price is generally affordable, often ranging from around 15 cents to $1 depending on the coin's surface quality, scratches, and overall eye appeal. While scratches may slightly lower its value compared to a cleaner coin, they do not diminish the historical and collectible significance of this century-old piece. Many collectors and hobbyists enjoy acquiring coins like this as part of their Lincoln cent collections or as an introduction to early 20th century U.S. coinage. Holding a coin from 1918 offers a tangible connection to the past. This penny circulated during a time of significant change in America, traveling through homes, stores, factories, and streets during the post-World War I era. Every scratch, color variation, and worn edge tells a story of its journey through daily life, from small purchases to savings jars, and eventually into the hands of a collector who recognizes its historical importance. It serves as a reminder of the practical and symbolic role pennies played in everyday American life, when even a single cent had real value, despite being more than a century old. This 1918 wheat penny retains its identity as a Lincoln cent and as a representative of early U.S. coinage. Its scratches, worn edges, and moderate circulation are not flaws but markers of its life, showing that it truly belonged to the hands of ordinary Americans for decades. Next up, the 1943 Abraham Lincoln steel penny without any mint mark. A coin struck at the Philadelphia Mint during one of the most remarkable years in United States coinage history. This particular example comes in good condition, meaning it circulated for many years but still retains enough detail to appreciate its original design. The surface shows some scratches and signs of age, which is common for steel pennies because their zinc coating wears down faster than copper. Even with these imperfections, the coin carries the unique charm and historical significance that make the 1943 steel cent one of the most recognizable and talked about coins ever minted in America. Looking at the obverse, Abraham Lincoln's portrait remains clear, though the high points, such as the hair, cheek, and jawline, show noticeable wear from circulation. The date 1943 is sharp and readable beneath the portrait, standing out against the silver-gray color of the metal. Since no mint mark appears beside the date, the coin is confirmed as being minted in Philadelphia. The words "In God We Trust," which arch across the top of the coin, are still visible, though some letters may appear slightly softened from years of handling. The word "Liberty" on the left side is present but worn, showing the typical flattening expected in good condition. The scratches on the obverse reflect the passage of time, telling the story of a coin that traveled widely during and after World War II. Turning to the reverse, the traditional wheat tier design shows the effects of circulation. The wheat stalks, which once displayed fine lines and detailed texture, now appear softer and less defined. However, the overall outline of the wheat ears remains clear enough to identify the classic design. The inscriptions 1 cent and United States of America are bold and readable, standing prominently in the center of the reverse. The motto E pluribus unum at the top is still intact, though some of the letters may show slight fading or interruption due to scratches or wear. The steel composition of the coin often leads to dark spots or slight discoloration, and this example shows the natural signs of aging that many circulated. 1943 pennies share. The 1943 steel penny represents an important moment in American history. During World War II, the country needed copper for ammunition, communication wiring, and military equipment. To help conserve copper for the war effort, the U.S. Mint made a temporary switch to steel, coating the coins with zinc to prevent rust. The result was the only year in history when the Lincoln cent was made from steel instead of copper. Although steel pennies served their purpose, they also caused problems. People sometimes confused them with dimes, and the zinc coating wore off quickly, exposing the steel to rust and staining. Because of these issues, the mint returned to copper in 1944. Today, the 1943 pennies remain a popular reminder of wartime, resourcefulness, and one of the most interesting experiments in American coinage. In today's market, a 1943 steel penny without mint mark in good condition typically sells for around 15 cents to $1, depending on the presence of scratches, rust spots, or discoloration. While these coins are not rare because millions were produced, their unique appearance and historical background make them desirable for collectors. A coin in good condition with some scratches, such as this one, falls into the lower to mid-value range, but its appeal remains strong for hobbyists who enjoy owning a piece of wartime American history. Higher-grade examples can fetch higher prices, but circulated pieces like this are accessible and perfect for casual collectors, young collectors, or those building full Lincoln cent year sets, even though this coin shows scratches and signs of age. These marks only add to its character and story. A circulated steel penny like this one passed through the hands of everyday Americans during a time when the nation was united in supporting the war effort. Every scratch is a reminder of the coin's long journey from cash registers to pockets, from wartime savings jars to later generations of collectors. Its steel composition makes it stand out instantly among traditional copper cents, and its presence in any collection brings both historical depth and visual variety. The next coin in this collection is the 1920 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny without any mint mark, a classic early-century copper coin struck at the Philadelphia Mint. This piece comes in good condition, showing clear signs of circulation but still holding enough detail to appreciate its design and age. More than 100 years old, this coin carries the marks of time, including some scratches across its surface, a softening of the high points, and a natural brown tone that develops on older copper coins. Even with these signs of wear, it remains a meaningful collectible because it represents the first full year of production after World War I, a period of major change in America's history. Looking at the obverse, Abraham Lincoln's portrait is still visible, though the finer details around his hair, cheek, and jawline have softened from years of use. In good condition, the coin shows moderate wear, but the essential features remain intact. The date 1920 is clear beneath Lincoln's profile, standing out as a reminder of just how old this coin is. The motto "In God We Trust" along the top is fully readable, though some letters might show light fading around their edges. The word "Liberty" on the left side is also visible, but the wear across the coin gives it a slightly flatter appearance. The scratches across the obverse blend into the dark copper shade, reflecting decades of handling through pockets, wallets, shops, and banks, turning the coin over to the reverse. The wheat stalks that give the series its name still appear, but they are noticeably worn. In good condition, the fine lines within the wheat ears are mostly faded, yet their shape is still clear enough to identify. The large lettering 1 cent and United States of America remains readable and stands out strongly, even with the light scratches and surface marks. The motto E pluribus unum at the top is faint but present, showing the expected wear for a coin that has circulated heavily for many years. The reverse holds the same brown tone as the obverse, giving the coin a consistent, aged appearance that collectors recognize as typical for older wheat pennies. A 1920 wheat penny is not considered rare because millions were minted, but its age makes it a popular piece for collectors who appreciate early Lincoln cents. Coins from the 1920s often show significant wear due to their long time in circulation, and finding examples with clearer details can be challenging. Even in good condition, this 1920 penny represents a century of American history, connecting modern collectors to the everyday economy of the early 20th century. Each scratch tone change and worn edge tells part of its story, showing the long journey it took before being added to a collection. In today's market, a 1920 Lincoln wheat penny without a mint mark in good condition usually has a moderate value within an affordable range. Because this date is common but old, its price typically falls between 10 cents and 50 cents, depending on the exact condition, eye appeal, color, and depth of wear. The scratches on the surface may place it toward the lower end of the price range, but they do not erase its collectible importance. Many collectors seek early Lincoln cents like this one to fill spaces in their albums, especially when building a full year-by-year set from 1909 through the end of the wheat penny series. Holding this coin, you can imagine the many decades it lived through economic changes, wars, families saving pennies in jars, shops giving them in change, and countless hands passing them along. Even in worn condition, the strength of its design remains, showing how well the U.S. Mint crafted these early Lincoln cents. The good condition grade gives it an honest, circulated character, the kind of wear that reminds collectors that this coin truly served its purpose before being preserved. Next up, the 1956 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny with the D Mint mark, a coin struck at the Denver Mint during a time when the Lincoln cent was firmly established as one of the most familiar and longest-running designs in United States coinage. The wheat penny design was first introduced in 1909 to honor Abraham Lincoln's 100th birthday, and it continued through 1958, meaning the 1956 issue comes from the later years of this iconic series. Your coin is described as being in very fine condition, which means it has clearly been in circulation but still retains strong detail. Even with some scratches on its surfaces, the important features are well preserved, and the coin continues to tell its own piece of American monetary history. When you examine the obverse of the 1956 D penny, Abraham Lincoln's portrait stands out clearly. In very fine condition, Lincoln's hair, beard, and facial features still show a good amount of definition, though the highest points may exhibit light wear from decades of use. The mint mark D to the right of the date tells us this coin was struck at the Denver Mint, and the date 1956 remains bold and fully readable. The motto "In God We Trust" curves across the top of the coin, remaining clear while the word Liberty on the left side stands strong, though it may show very slight softness on the edges due to circulation. The scratches you notice are typical for a coin this age and beautifully reflect its life in pockets, cash registers, and everyday transactions over more than 6 decades. Turning the coin over, The reverse displays the classic wheat ear design that defines the wheat penny series. In very fine condition, the wheat stalks still display substantial detail, with many individual lines and textures visible, though they may be softened slightly from wear. The central lettering 1 cent and United States of America remains sharp and stands out against the brown surface, while the motto E pluribus unum across the top continues to be readable. The scratches and marks on the reverse are noticeable but do not significantly detract from the appeal of the coin. They simply demonstrate the passage of time and the coin's long journey in circulation. The overall brown tone of the coin, which is typical for wheat pennies of this era, gives it a warm, antique appearance that many collectors appreciate. The 1956 D. Lincoln wheat penny comes from a period in American history that was marked by post-war growth and domestic prosperity. After World War II, the American economy expanded rapidly, families grew, and coins like this were used every day for pocket change, candy purchases, bus fares, small savings, and countless transactions that helped build the rhythm of everyday life. Unlike earlier dates that might be more valuable due to rarity, the 1956 issue is more common because large quantities were minted. However, the value of such coins is still driven by condition, eye appeal, and collector demand, especially for pieces like yours that have retained strong detail despite some surface wear. In today's market, a 1956 Lincoln wheat penny with the D. Mint mark in very fine condition with some scratches generally has a modest but steady value. Collectors typically price such coins in the range of around 25 cents to about $1, depending on the attractiveness of the surfaces, how even the coloration appears, and the visibility of the fine details. Coins with particularly nice brown tones or softer, smoother surfaces tend to be on the higher end of that range, while those with heavier scratches may be valued closer to the lower end. Because 1956 dictators are not rare, even well-preserved, circulated examples like this one remain firmly in the affordable collector category, despite its modest monetary value. This coin carries historical richness. It is part of a series that spanned half a century and showcased one of America's most respected presidents. The wheat design itself is beloved for its simplicity and symbolism, representing prosperity and growth. Each line of the wheat stalks, still visible on your coin, echoes a chapter of American life when small change was a daily necessity and pennies were a familiar part of everyday use. Collectors appreciate coins like this not only for their place in a full date set, but also for the way they reflect wear patterns, toning, and individual histories. The scratches on your coin, far from diminishing its significance, show that it truly circulated and served its purpose in the hands of everyday Americans. They tell a story of use, transition, changing economies, and the simple continuity of small denomination coins in American history. First up, this collection is the 1939 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny without any mint mark, a classic piece produced at the Philadelphia Mint during the late years of the Great Depression. This coin comes in very fine condition, which means it has clearly been circulated but still holds a strong amount of visible detail, even though it carries some scratches from natural handling over the decades. The overall design stays sharp enough to appreciate the workmanship of early 20th century coinage. A coin like this offers a blend of history, durability, and visual quality that collectors enjoy, especially when examining pieces that have survived more than 80 years. On the obverse, Abraham Lincoln's portrait remains bold and well-defined. In very fine condition, you can still see the outline of his hair, cheek, and coat, though the finer details have softened slightly from circulation. The motto "In God We Trust" curves across the top with full clarity, showing only minor wear on the highest points of the lettering. The word Liberty on the left side is completely readable, though the edges of the letters may appear slightly worn. The date 1939 stands out sharply beneath Lincoln's profile. giving the coin a strong, clean appearance despite the small scratches scattered across the surface. These scratches blend naturally into the older copper tone of the coin, reminding us of its long life in everyday transactions. When turning the coin over, the reverse design displays the classic wheat stalks that define the wheat penny series. In very fine condition, the wheat lines are still visible, though not as crisp as they would be in higher-grade examples. The central lettering, including 1 cent and United States of America, remains solid and clear, showing only light signs of wear along the edges. The motto E pluribus unum at the top is still readable as well, though the individual letters showed gentle smoothing from years of circulation. The small scratches on the reverse add character to the coin without overwhelming its overall detail, giving it an authentic, collectible appearance. The 1939 wheat penny comes from a time when the United States was still recovering from the economic hardships of the 1930s and preparing for the years leading up to World War II. Millions of these coins were struck at the Philadelphia Mint, making them common today. But pieces in very fine condition remain desirable for collectors who appreciate coins with strong details at an affordable price. The even wear, the preserved design, and the honest aging of the copper all make this example a meaningful addition to a Lincoln cent collection. In today's market, a 1939 Lincoln wheat penny without a mint mark in very fine condition has a modest but steady value. Most examples like this generally range from around 20 cents to $1 depending on eye appeal, the depth of scratches, and overall uniformity of the toning. While not rare, the coin still carries collectible interest because of its age and the historical period it represents. The scratches on this piece may slightly reduce its value compared to a cleaner example, but they do not significantly harm its appeal as a well-preserved, circulated coin. For collectors, building a full-date run of wheat pennies, the 1939 issue is a necessary piece that helps complete the pre-war section of the series. Its strong remaining details and very fine condition make it an excellent mid-grade example, one that balances affordability with clarity. Next up, the 1944 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny with the D mint mark, a coin that comes from one of the most interesting years in American coinage history. The year 1944 was right in the middle of World War II, a time when the United States Mint was making adjustments to conserve metals for the war effort. Just 1 year earlier, in 1943, pennies were struck in steel because copper was needed for military supplies. But in 1944, the mint returned to a copper-based composition, using recycled ammunition shell casings from U.S. training grounds, giving the 1944 penny a unique story and connection to wartime America. Your 1944 D penny, described as being in fine condition with some scratches, carries this history in its surfaces, its color, and the small signs of circulation that show it served in everyday use during a critical period of the 20th century. When examining the obverse of the coin, Abraham Lincoln's portrait remains clearly visible. In fine condition, the high points, such as his cheekbone, jawline, and the top of his hair, show moderate wear, but the major features of the portrait remain well-formed. The date 1944 stands out sharply, and the small D mint mark right below it identifies the coin as having been minted at the Denver Mint. The words, "In God We Trust," are fully readable across the top, though they may show softening around the edges from circulation. The word Liberty on the left of Lincoln is still strong, though some light flattening may be visible. The scratches on the surface, especially on the right field of the obverse, are typical for a coin of this age and do not detract from its identity or historical character. Instead, they show that this was a working coin, handled by real Americans during and after wartime. Turning the coin over to the reverse, the wheat ears that define the design of the wheat penny series show noticeable wear but remain clearly identifiable. In fine condition, many of the inner details of the wheat stalks have softened, but the outer curves and general shape still frame the central lettering effectively. 1 cent remains bold and easy to read, and the United States of America sits cleanly just underneath it. At the top, the motto E pluribus unum is fully present, even if slightly worn. The scratches on the reverse, like the ones on the obverse, reflect years of circulation, but they do not overshadow the clarity of the design or the overall eye appeal of the coin. The surfaces likely show a natural brown tone, common for coins of this era, giving it a warm and aged appearance that collectors often categorize as chocolate brown or medium brown. The 1944 Lincoln wheat penny is one of the most widely collected coins in U.S. numismatic history. Millions of these were minted, especially at the Denver Mint, which produced a very large number of pennies that year. Even so, each individual coin carries its own history. In 1944, pennies like this traveled through wartime paychecks, military camps, ration store counters, train stations, and factories where American workers were producing supplies that supported the war effort. These coins were spent by families budgeting carefully while soldiers were overseas, and they continued to circulate in the years after the war as America rebuilt and grew. The scratches and wear patterns on your coin speak to a life of constant use during a time when every cent mattered. When it comes to today's market value, a 1944D Lincoln wheat penny in fine condition with some scratches falls into the category of common-date wheat cents that are affordable and highly collectible. Because so many were produced and many still survive today, the value is modest. Typically, such a coin sells in the range of $20,000, depending on eye appeal, color, and how heavy the scratches are. Fine condition means the details are still strongly visible, but the coin shows clear signs of circulation. Scratches can push the value slightly toward the lower end of the range, while a smoother, more evenly colored coin may bring a bit more. The important thing is that collectors still enjoy owning a 1944 penny because of its wartime story, its bronze composition, and its connection to a dramatic moment in world history. The next coin in this collection is the 1952 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny without any mint mark, a coin minted at the Philadelphia Mint during the post-war era. This particular example comes in damaged condition, showing heavy signs of circulation and noticeable wear that has affected many of its finer details. The scratches, marks, and surface imperfections tell the story of a coin that spent many decades in active use, passing through countless hands, shops, pockets, and change drawers before finally making its way into a collection. Even though the damage affects its appearance, the coin still holds historical and sentimental value as part of the long-running Lincoln Cent series. Turning the coin over to the reverse, the wheat stalks that define the wheat cent design are still there, but most of the finer line details have disappeared due to circulation and damage. The words 1 cent remain the boldest element, still clear and readable, though the surrounding surface shows scratches and worn areas. United States of America is also visible but softened, with some letters appearing slightly distorted or faded. The motto E pluribus unum at the top is faint and incomplete in places, which is common for coins in damaged or heavily circulated condition. The reverse carries the same uneven texture as the obverse, showing how years of use, pressure, and friction have impacted the original design, even in damaged condition. The 1952 wheat penny holds interest for collectors who enjoy studying circulated coins. While it may not be a high-grade example, it still represents a period in American history when pennies were widely used in everyday transactions. The 1950s were years of economic growth, family life, local shops, and small-town America. And coins like this one passed through all those moments. A heavily worn coin has lived a long life, and that long journey adds a unique charm that new coins cannot replicate. In today's market, The value of a 1952 Lincoln wheat penny without a mint mark and damaged condition is modest, because millions were produced and many survive today in better grades. A damaged example typically sells for around 3 cents to 10 cents, depending on how severe the wear and scratches are. While its monetary value is low, it remains useful for entry-level collectors, educational purposes, or as a filler coin in a larger set. For someone building a year-by-year collection of Lincoln wheat pennies, even a damaged piece can serve as a placeholder until a better condition coin is found. The story behind a coin like this is one of endurance. Despite its scratches, dents, and the loss of many design details, the coin still retains the core elements that identify it as a 1952 wheat penny. It is a reminder of how hard-working small-denomination coins once were, traveling through decades of commerce before being retired by collectors. Many collectors find meaning in holding a damaged coin because every mark reflects the life it lived something new. Shiny coins never show. Next up, the 1918 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny without mint mark, a coin that reaches more than a century back into American history. Produced during the final year of World War I, this penny carries the age, color, and character of a coin that has lived through generations of use. The absence of a mint mark shows that it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, the oldest mint in the United States and the primary producer of early Lincoln cents. The coin is described as being in dirty condition with some scratches, which is completely expected for a penny minted in 1918. Over the past 100 years, it would have traveled through countless hands, pockets, shops, and banks, accumulating natural toning, darkening, and surface marks that reflect its long journey. Looking at the obverse of the coin, the portrait of Abraham Lincoln remains visible even if softened by time. In this condition, the high points of Lincoln's hair and cheek are worn, and the fields around the portrait may show discoloration or dirt that has settled into the metal over decades. The date 1918 remains an important part of the design and still stands out, allowing the coin to be easily identified. The lack of a mint mark beneath the date confirms its Philadelphia origin. The words "In God We Trust" across the top may appear a bit faded but should still be readable, while Liberty on the left may show slight flattening from long circulation. The scratches you mentioned, likely light or medium in strength, add to the worn personality of the coin but do not affect its historical significance. Turning to the reverse, the wheat ears that define the wheat penny design have experienced noticeable wear. In dirty condition, the surfaces may appear dark or uneven in color, and some of the finer lines on the wheat stalks may be lost. Even so, the two large wheat ears that frame the central text remain visible enough to identify the coin clearly. The words 1 cent in the middle are often among the boldest features, even on older, heavily circulated coins, and they help preserve the classic look of the penny. United States of America beneath it may show some smoothing, but the lettering should still be readable. At the top, E pluribus unum often becomes faint on coins with this much age, yet it still provides the familiar structure of the design. The dirt collected over time, along with the scratches, creates a coin that tells the story of many decades of use rather than the polished look of a collector-grade specimen. The 1918 wheat penny is part of a series that has deep historical importance. During this era, the United States was involved in World War I, and millions of these pennies were struck for everyday commerce. People at that time relied heavily on small denominations, and coins moved rapidly through transactions at markets, rail stations, factories, and farms. Because these pennies were used so heavily, many surviving examples show heavy wear, and finding one in pristine condition today is rare. Your coin, with its dirt and scratches, is typical of the circulated survivors that make up most of what still exists. In today's market, the value of a 1918 wheat penny without mint mark depends heavily on its condition. Since this coin is described as being in dirty condition with scratches and showing noticeable wear, it falls into the lower grade category. Collectors generally value 1918 wheat pennies in this type of condition at around $10,000, depending on how worn the details are and how dark or uneven the surfaces appear. Dirt and scratches usually place it toward the lower end of that range, but the age of the coin still gives it collectible interest. Coins from the 1910s are always interesting to collectors, even in worn condition, because they represent a much earlier period of American coinage and everyday life. The next coin in this collection is the 1935 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny without any mint mark, a coin produced at the Philadelphia Mint during a period of recovery following the Great Depression. This particular penny is in extra fine condition, meaning that while it has circulated, most of the original detail remains sharp and well preserved. Even though it carries some scratches, the overall design is crisp and clear, making it an appealing piece for collectors who appreciate coins with strong visual appeal and historical significance. Holding a 1935 penny offers a tangible connection to the mid-1930s, a time of gradual economic improvement and significant cultural change in the United States. Turning the coin over, the reverse design features the classic wheat ears that give this series its name. In extra fine condition, the lines within the wheat stalks remain distinct, showing crisp details that indicate the coin's strong preservation. The central lettering, 1 cent and United States of America, is bold and clear, standing out against the brown background. The motto E pluribus unum at the top of the reverse is fully legible, completing the classic design. The scratches present on the reverse are minor and scattered, reflecting the coin's age and circulation while preserving the overall aesthetics of the piece. The 1935 wheat penny is a common date, as millions were struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Yet its value lies in its condition and the historical context it represents. The extra fine grade makes this particular coin desirable for collectors who want well-preserved examples without entering the higher-priced uncirculated category. It serves as an excellent mid-grade coin, offering clear detail, authenticity, and the natural signs of age that collectors often appreciate. A coin like this provides insight into everyday life in the 1930s, when pennies were a practical part of daily commerce, used in small transactions at stores, markets, and other places across the country. In today's market, a 1935 Lincoln wheat penny without a mint mark in extra fine condition generally sells for around $5 to $10, depending on eye appeal, toning, and the prominence of scratches. While not considered rare, coins in this grade command a premium over heavily circulated examples because they retain more of the original design. Collectors often seek coins like this to complete Daytan mint mark sets or to acquire mid-grade examples that balance preservation with affordability. The presence of minor scratches does not significantly reduce its value, as extra fine coins are expected to show some signs of circulation. The historical significance of a 1935 wheat penny adds to its collectible appeal. This coin was in circulation during a time when the United States was recovering from economic hardship, and pennies like this would have been used daily by families managing tight budgets. Every transaction, every hand it passed through contributed to its unique character, even with the scratches and the slight softening of the highest points. The coin has retained the essential beauty and craftsmanship of the Lincoln cent series, demonstrating the durability and design quality of early 20th century U.S. coinage. For collectors, this coin is more than just a piece of metal. It is a tangible connection to the past. The extra fine condition preserves the integrity of Lincoln's portrait and the wheat-back design, while the scratches and signs of circulation remind us that this penny lived a full life before becoming part of a collection. It is a blend of history, craftsmanship, and everyday life, making it a meaningful addition to any Lincoln wheat penny collection, even nearly 90 years after it was minted. This 1935 penny continues to tell the story of American coinage and the enduring legacy of Abraham Lincoln on U.S. currency.